Oh my goodness, 2.5 years. We have followed Jaskaran Singh, an immigrant to this country, on this long journey trying to get what I would call a squatter out of his house. Someone he rented the house to, a man named Sang Kim and his family, who a couple months go by, no rent. 6 months go by, no rent. Year goes by, no rent. 2 years go by, no rent. To the tune of more than $100,000. And every single law on the books was working against Jaskaran Singh and working in favor of the squatter Sang Kim, who had no shame in this whole ordeal. There would be protests outside the house. Jaskaran and his friends would come and protest and try to shame him into leaving the house. And he just wouldn't do it because he knew that he could abuse the system to be able to live in a nice house in Bellevue, rent-free, for more than 2 years. But the good news is, Sang Kim has finally been forced to vacate the home, and none other than our friend Jonathan Cho was there as he did it.
Mr. Kim, how you doing? Are you finally leaving? I'm being told that you have until today to leave. Where are you going to go next, sir?
That's none of your business.
It's not
Are
like
you going to
Cho.
pay back any of the rent, sir?
You gotta love Jonathan Cho, and he just stalked. He was out there for a long time because some of his video was during the daylight and some of it was at night, and he was just trying to wait for Sang Kim to leave. Sang Kim does not like Jonathan Cho. Didn't he try to issue like a court order against Jonathan Cho, like some sort of
harassment
anti-harassment order?
Possibly.
It wasn't successful at all. But
I feel like a few people have done that. I'm not sure if Kim was one of them.
Boundaries maybe isn't Jonathan Cho's main concern, but in this instance, Sang Kim totally deserved it. So look, we can laugh about it, but what a horrible ordeal. 2.5 years trying. I mean, it frustrated Jaskaran Singh to the point that he turned into a Republican and ran for elected office. Like he was trying to do everything he could, reach out to elected leaders, and it was all about state laws that make it very, very difficult to be able to get someone who's not paying rent, even for extended periods of time, out of your home. So one of the people who is trying his best to help Jaskaran Singh navigate this situation is Bellevue City Council member Jared Neuenhouse. He joins us on Undivided to discuss this and what's next. Councilman, welcome back to Undivided.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, seems like Jaskaran Singh's long saga is over, at least for now. For you, I know you were someone who supported him through this. I mean, for the city of Bellevue, were you guys' hands just sort of tied in being able to help him with this situation?
Fortunately, yes, because a lot of this really, sits at the state and at King County. But boy, what an ordeal he's had to put up with. I mean, 2.5 years, four separate unlawful detainer cases. And then the tenant tried to again get it extended. And thank goodness in December he was denied. But finally, this past Sunday, even though he was supposed to be out on Saturday, but got out on Sunday, Jaskaran can finally start to, take action on this property. And unfortunately, the action he's going to take is that he's going to end up selling property. So during, a housing crisis that we all love to talk about and all say it's such a crisis, here again, we're losing another rental in not only the city of Bellevue, but in King County, that a family won't have the opportunity to rent.
Oh, I had not heard that. So he's told you that he is going to sell.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly what mom and pop property owners are doing all over King County. I mean, Seattle just completed an audit, and they had over 7,000 single-family homes that were sold to either developers or another property owner because they don't want to risk it. And after hearing stories like Jaskaran, I mean, would you want to risk it? I mean, he's $100,000 in the hole right now in back rent, attorney's fees, court fees. And wow, the tenant apparently did a number on the house when he left as well. So he's got, a lot of repairs that need to be done, and we'll have to get it professionally cleaned, et cetera.
Man, I mean, I just feel like even despite these stories, high profile ones like this, I mean, there are a lot of stories like this happening that maybe aren't that to that extent, 2.5 years, tens of thousands of dollars in taxpayer funds just given to this deadbeat tenant. Do you feel like anything is going in the right direction on this issue?
I wish I could be more optimistic, but I'm not really hearing much right now in terms of, and that goes back to, my comment earlier about how ironic it is that no one seems to have any urgency to fix this because we are in this housing crisis, and every property that we lose is another property that a family can't rent, and then of course that shrinks the market, and what happens? Prices go up. So if we truly want to get this rectified, we need to address this. I mean, first of all, the Housing Justice Project, right, which is a taxpayer funded special defense firm for tenants. They got $4.6 million from the state. They got another half million from King County, but I am not hearing anything from them in terms of wanting to get this addressed. And again, yeah, sure, this might be a more extreme example, but it's by no means whatsoever isolated case. This is happening time and time again. So, in terms of fixing it, I think we need to do look at the court system functions properly, and that we need timeliness here and due process, right? So really, adherence to the existing residential landlord tenant law that right now doesn't seem to be happening whatsoever. And then I think we need to do a review of the King County Superior Court files as well that shows regular and automatic continuances of the legal proceedings at the behest of the Housing Justice Project. This is an example here of Jaskaran. They're just getting these continuances continuously, and that's putting property owners in a really bad position. So that needs to happen. So I think we need to do a serious audit as well,
Yeah.
in terms of these non-paying tenants, and more importantly, the disruptive and dangerous tenants, because that's the other part of this. Sometimes property owners get people in their properties that are a danger to other neighbors or other tenants, and they can't move them out either. And then lastly, we just need a better balanced approach, Brandi. Too often, still, we're looking at the property owners or the housing provider as the evil, greedy, and don't get me wrong, we need to have protections for tenants as well. But right now, it's just out of whack. It's out of balance.
Yeah, totally lopsided. How is this not waste, fraud, and abuse from the Housing Justice Project? I mean, they cut at least one $50,000 check to cover the rent that Sang Kim wasn't paying. That cannot, in any universe, be the intention of those taxpayer funds. So how are they not being investigated for waste, fraud, and abuse?
Well, that's above my pay grade. I think you'd have to ask somebody at King County or the state in terms of why this is not looked at a little bit more closely. I know Councilmember Dunn was looking into this a little bit, and I know that this is getting more attention at the county and state level, but unfortunately doesn't have the urgency that I would like to see, because I think there's a lot of other property owners out there that are suffering from this as well.
Yeah, you mentioned, he's selling his unit, and this happens. I think there's some who want to act like that never happens. Like these landlords will just sit and take it, and every burdensome regulation and cost and inability to be able to maintain their own property, and they'll just take it and take it and take it. They're not going to. That's not a good business decision. We can't expect them to. But what happens when rent control? What happens if rent control passes this session?
Oh, things will get worse. If anyone is sitting on the fence thinking about selling their property now, I think even more so. I mean, this is what's been happening over the last 6 to 8 years. There's more and more regulations that the mom and pop property owners just, that they can't absorb those regulations or the costs associated with it. So what we're going to get is only the big multinational corporations that can absorb those costs and can deal with those regulations. They're going to be the only ones standing to be able to provide multifamily housing.
Yeah, let's end with this, council member. Sang Kim, what stops him from leaving this house and going to victimize another one of your constituents in the city of Bellevue?
Well, I certainly hope that anyone who's been paying attention is familiar with this individual, and hopefully will not rent their property. I hope they join the appropriate organization that kind of keep tabs on those that are doing this continuously. So hopefully they will check to make sure, but there's no guarantee, Brandi, and this absolutely could happen again. And I really hope it doesn't, but it could happen.
Man, I mean, it's happened before, so crazier things have happened. Not everyone's as plugged into what's going on. So, Bellevue City Councilman Jared Newenhouse, we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Just nuts stuff. I mean, again, Sang-Kim, he's done this kind of stuff before. If you're able to get away with it for 2.5 years, I mean, more power to him abusing the system like that. Think of how much money he saved on rent. He and his whole family got to live in a nice house in Bellevue for 2.5 years and hardly had to come a dime out of pocket. And they got bailed out by taxpayers. It's truly insane stuff. One thing that Jared Newenhouse alluded to there at the end, and it's a plug for our sponsors, the Rental Housing Association of Washington, Jaskaran Singh has said that he wishes he had been a member of RHA because they have a way that they can look through their database and see if the person that you're about to rent to has a history of doing stuff like this. So it's sort of that extra protection because you have other landlords who they might report someone, back to RHA like, hey, I had this hellish tenant and they didn't pay rent or whatever it is. And then that stops another RHA member from going out and renting a unit to that same person. So we'll plug for RHA. If you want to become a member of the Rental Housing Association of Washington, a couple things. They're going to be able to advocate for you and help you through these crazy situations and these bullshit laws, rhawa.org. And then Nicole, I'm sorry, bull crap laws. Can I not swear in an ad read? Give me a break over here. And they're down in Olympia advocating on your behalf during the legislative session. Rent control is a big deal right now. So rhawa.org, rhawa.org.